For more than 50 years, Seattle relied on a world record floating bridge to hold its region together. When that aging structure reached its limits, it was replaced by something even bigger, the longest floating bridge on Earth, rebuilt in the same waters it once dominated. But replacing the bridge was only the beginning. Interchanges, neighborhoods, and an entire corridor still had to be re-engineered. Now, as the final pieces fall into place, the full scale of this project is finally visible. Today, let's delve into Seattle's $5.7 billion SR 520 bridge replacement program. State Route 520 is an east-west highway spanning Lake Washington. As an over-the-lake corridor, it connects the dense urban core of Seattle with Bellevue, Redmond, and the broader East Side, home to major employment centers, research campuses, and rapidly growing residential communities. While Interstate 90 provides an alternative crossing, SR 520 is essential for balancing regional traffic flows and supporting daily commuting patterns. When SR 520 slows or shuts down, congestion ripples outward across the entire metropolitan area. At the corridor's center is the Evergreen Point Floating Bridge across Lake Washington. Opened in 1963, spanning 7,478 feet, it was officially certified as the world's longest floating bridge. At the time, it was a bold engineering achievement. A floating bridge was chosen because Lake Washington is exceptionally deep and underlain by soft sediments, making traditional bridge piers impractical. Anchored concrete pontoons allowed engineers to create a stable roadway that rises and falls with the water. For more than half a century, the bridge did its job. It held firm through storms, carried a growing region across deep water, and became a global benchmark for floating bridge engineering until time, traffic, and risk began to catch up. Originally expected to carry about 17,000 vehicles a day, volumes climbed toward roughly 100,000 vehicles a day by the late 20th century, turning a vital crossing into a daily system risk. With no shoulders, even minor incidents could spiral into hours of congestion. As that pressure mounted, deeper vulnerabilities surfaced. Built before modern seismic standards, the bridge lacked the resilience expected in an earthquake-prone region. Storm damage and rising maintenance costs narrowed the margin for error, while seismic studies warned that a major earthquake could push the structure beyond recovery. By the early 2000s, repairing and retrofitting no longer made sense. Replacement became the only viable way to manage risk. The challenge was rebuilding a critical crossing without severing the lifeline the region relied on every day. Before we continue, don't forget to click on that subscribe button and like this video, as it's the best way to support this channel. What began as a plan to replace a single bridge quickly expanded into a comprehensive corridor transformation. Washington State Department of Transportation recognized that rebuilding only the floating bridge would leave outdated interchanges, congestion bottlenecks, and safety issues unresolved. The result was the SR 520 Bridge Replacement and High Occupancy Vehicle Program, a corridor-wide effort stretching from Seattle to Bellevue and reshaping nearly every aspect of the route. At the heart of the program is the new Evergreen Point Floating Bridge, officially named the Governor Albert D. Rossellini Bridge. Constructed between 2008 and 2016 and opened to traffic in stages beginning in 2016, it replaced its record-holding predecessor with a slightly longer continuous floating span. The bridge stretches more than 7,710 feet across Lake Washington, supported by a fleet of massive concrete pontoons. Each pontoon was constructed off-site in controlled conditions, then floated into position and assembled on the lake, a process that required extraordinary precision. Unlike its predecessor, the new bridge was designed to move safely with waves and wind while remaining anchored against extreme forces. Advanced anchoring systems allow controlled flexibility, reducing stress during storms. The bridge also incorporates modern seismic design, enabling it to withstand significant earthquakes without collapsing. Full shoulders were added for the first time, dramatically improving safety and allowing disabled vehicles and emergency responders to operate without blocking traffic. Beyond the bridge itself, the program rebuilt major interchanges and approaches on both sides of the lake. In Seattle's Montlake neighborhood, one of the most complex urban construction zones in the region, engineers reconstructed the interchange to improve traffic flow and reduce conflict points. To address decades of neighborhood division caused by highway expansion, landscaped lids were constructed over sections of the roadway. These lids restored local street connections, reduced noise, and created new public green space, turning what was once a barrier into a community asset. On the east side of the lake, interchanges in Medina and Bellevue were redesigned to improve safety and capacity while minimizing impacts on surrounding neighborhoods. Throughout the corridor, new high-occupancy vehicle lanes were added to prioritize buses and carpools, improving travel reliability for high-occupancy vehicles and supporting regional transit goals. Pedestrian and bicycle facilities were integrated into the design, reflecting a shift away from car-only infrastructure toward multimodal mobility. Constructing all of this while keeping SR 520 open to traffic has been a feat in itself. Phased construction allowed traffic to shift gradually, minimizing full closures, while marine crews worked through challenging weather and narrow seasonal windows. Coordination between contractors, engineers, and transportation agencies has remained relentless, with safety and continuity as non-negotiable priorities. Much of the corridor is now complete and in daily use, but major West End elements, most notably the Portage Bay Bridge and Roanoke Lid, are still under construction, pushing the program toward its final phases. The scale of the SR 520 program came with a price tag exceeding $5.7 billion, making it one of the most expensive transportation projects in Washington state history. Funding such an effort required a layered approach. State gas taxes and federal transportation funds provided a foundation, but they were not enough to cover the full cost. Tolling, therefore, became a central pillar of the financing strategy. Electronic tolls were introduced on SR 520 in 2011, both to generate long-term revenue and to manage peak hour demand on one of the region's most constrained crossings. While tolling helped stabilize project funding, it also sparked sustained public debate. Critics argued that tolls disproportionately affected daily commuters, while supporters emphasized the necessity of user-based funding for infrastructure of this scale. The project timeline was deliberately phased. Construction began in the early 2010s, but rather than waiting for full completion, key elements were opened as they became ready. Traffic was permanently shifted onto the new floating bridge in April 2016, enabling demolition of the original 1963 bridge by 2017. Since then, work has continued on rebuilt interchanges, lids, and corridor connections. Major remaining West End projects, including the Portage Bay Bridge and Roanoke Lid, are now advancing toward an anticipated program completion around 2031, when the corridor finally functions as a unified, modern system rather than a sequence of temporary fixes. Few megaprojects escape controversy, and SR 520 was no exception. Rising costs and schedule extensions drew scrutiny as the program expanded in scope, while tolling remained politically sensitive, fueling ongoing debates over equity and long-term affordability. Environmental considerations further shaped the project. Construction over Lake Washington required strict oversight to protect water quality and aquatic ecosystems, adding complexity and cost. Along the corridor, nearby neighborhoods endured years of noise, detours, and disruption, testing public patience. Balancing engineering necessity with community trust proved difficult, and the project reignited broader debates over highway investment versus public transit, with critics questioning whether such a large roadway program aligned with long-term climate and sustainability goals. Despite the challenges, the benefits of the project are substantial. The new crossing is vastly more resilient to storms and earthquakes, reducing the risk of sudden failure. Safety improvements, including full shoulders and modern design standards, have transformed how incidents are handled on the bridge. HOV lanes and transit enhancements have improved reliability for buses and carpools, while pedestrian and bicycle facilities have expanded non-automobile options. Most visibly, landscaped lids reconnect neighborhoods long divided by infrastructure, reinforcing the project's broader legacy: long-term security for a critical corridor that supports economic activity, daily mobility, and emergency response across the region. The SR 520 Bridge Replacement and HOV program reflects a broader shift in how infrastructure is conceived in the 21st century. Climate change, seismic risk, and urban integration were not afterthoughts. They shaped every major design decision. As other regions confront aging bridges and vulnerable corridors, SR 520 offers both a model and a warning. Building resilient infrastructure is expensive, complex, and politically challenging, but delaying action only increases the risks. As remaining phases are completed and the corridor settles into daily use, the legacy of SR 520 will extend far beyond Lake Washington. It stands as a reminder that infrastructure must evolve with the forces that test it. What began as a fragile 1960s gamble has been transformed into a crossing built for the next century, quietly carrying a region forward one day at a time.